I feel like I am literally watching Power Season 7 at this stage of the game. That's how good this season of Tommy has been. Bro, if you guys aren't watching it, you missing out, man. Come back into the fold. They got it right now. This is our show again. Hey everyone, Just Be here, and I'm going to be breaking down the most recent episode of Power Book 4 Force, aka The Tommy Show, Season 2, Episode 2. We're diving right into it, seeing everything that happened in the episode, and we're going to talk about it right now. Let's go. We started off this episode seeing where Tommy had taken out Chewie, and now we got the police on the crime scene, and we're introduced to this new character who's this hardcore looking lieutenant. His name is Lieutenant Bobby, and he is gonna be a problem. I can see it. He's investigating the crime scene, but the problem is he's now letting the other officer on the scene know, like, bro, you got to understand why the people standing around us aren't giving us information as to what happened here. He's like, the streets are loyal to the streets. These communities are loyal to each other. You can't come in here being all forceful, saying that you're the police and expect to get answers from them. They're like, we don't trust y'all. So he obviously has some background of what it's like to be in the streets, and he pulls up and talks to a homeless guy whose name I think is Chicken Wing. And Chicken Wing finesses him for a couple of bucks in order to give him any information. And Lieutenant knows how the streets run, so he gives him a couple hundred, I think, or 50s or whatever it was. And he gets the information he needs, basically that CBI has split in half, and this is a result of people flipping sides. And I just think he gives me those vibes of the kind of police and law enforcement present that we would have had in OG Power. And I think this guy is going to be a big problem. And I like it because you can't have power without having the tension on both sides. You got to have the tension going on in the streets and the tension going on in law enforcement. And those two things must collide for it to feel like the stakes are high. And I think he's going to go ahead and bring that balance out this team and really make law enforcement more of a threat to Tommy and CBI and the Flynns and everything that's going on in Chicago. So keep an eye on this guy here. Hold on real quickly. You guys want to see something crazy? Over 99% of you guys that watch my content are not subscribed. So I'm asking real quickly, if you don't mind, just hit the like button and hit subscribe real quickly. I'd love to keep on giving this content to you guys, and lets me know that people actually are interested. Feel free to do that, man. Really appreciate it a lot. Would help me out a long way in growing my small channel. Thanks. Now back to the video. So when Tommy tells Diamond that he took out Chewie, Diamond starts to give it to Tommy. He said, listen, bro, you can't be doing that. You're moving around here sloppy. We can do things another way. And Tommy said, listen, I am a dope boy. I'm a drug dealer. I can't be taking disrespect like that. You got to be able to answer that kind of loyalty or disloyalty with the right response. And so this was really interesting because this kind of conversation where Diamond was basically trying to reel Tommy in is very, very reminiscent of how Ghost and Tommy would have those conversations, and Ghost was always trying to balance him out. Like, Tommy, you too reckless, man. Like, you gotta reel it in. You gotta think more before you charge into these situations, like a bull, in a china shop. And that was very, very, reminiscent of Ghost in this moment, and seeing Diamond really lay into it. But Diamond's thinking more about, hey, we can move weight, we can do what we gotta do. But bro, I mean, I'm thinking about how my PO is on me right now. And if they find out what I'm doing, I'm going back in to prison. So that's something that plays out throughout the rest of this episode. And eventually, Diamond lets Tommy know that, listen, I'm having some issues here with my PO, man. And we got to move a little bit more quieter if possible. And so that is, like I said, going to play a deeper role into all of this. Because when Tommy rolls into the barbershop and he's trying to meet with Diamond so that they can go deal with some business, and the PO is already up in there trying to get, an impromptu visit and trying to get Diamond to give him, urine samples on the spot, that threw him all the way off. And so now Tommy's seeing now that, hold on a second, your PO is coming through. This ain't happened before. Was really good. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, this stuff with Diamond's gonna come to a head, and I think it's gonna cause a rift between this side. Now, Jannard had to break the news to the rest of his crew that Chewy is gone. Chewy got killed by Tommy. And of course, the crew being who they are, they want to go ahead and make sure that, listen, all right, well, where we getting Tommy? And so he starts to move everybody into position and said, listen, I'll give you the signal. We moving on him, right? When y'all see him, it's a wrap. So Jannard's crew is ready to move. But later on, Diamond has to approach him and let him know, bro, if you make a move against Tommy, I'm not going to be able to stop him. And you know how Tommy is. He's reckless. So Jannard doesn't care. But then in that moment, Diamond has to remind him, listen, a lot of this stuff for Tommy, you started. He's letting them know, you can't just say it's business. Not too long ago, you tried to get me killed, right? At the barbershop. And then you also tried to take out Tommy's nephew and call it just business. So if you now want to say this is just business, you getting back at him again, don't forget the stuff that you've done that we have let go. So in that moment, Jannard's reminded that, yeah, you know what? Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a point there. Also, Jannard's being reminded that he doesn't necessarily have the numbers to go up against the other side of CBI right now. So all that's playing in his head, and he kind of has to weigh out, all right, does it make sense making a move at this particular time? What, I already got money problems. I got problems with Miguel. Now I'm going to be having problems with these other guys on the other side of CBI. So when Jannard tries to reel in his guys and let them know, yo, listen, we can't move on Tommy right now. I'll let y'all know when, but we got to focus up on getting our money. One of his dudes just wasn't having it. He's like, man, I ain't listening to you. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm still going to get revenge for my boy Chewy. And then in that moment, he disses Jannard and walks out. But here's the thing about it. That goes to show you that within his ranks, even though Jannard can get people together, money talks. And people are driven also, number two, by emotion. So if these guys feel, that's the thing about being inside a gang that we've seen in Power, right? If you can demonstrate that you gonna make a move, regardless of the situation, you can't demonstrate that power, man, we can't follow you. We can't respect you. So a lot of these guys now are flipping and going back over to Tommy and Diamond's side because they're like, man, Jannard, like, the money is already a little lighter over there. Plus, he look like he's scared. So, you know, all that's playing around. And dude's going to make a move on his own. So on top of that, the Serbs come and visit Jannard. And they free him up. They're like, listen, until you can get us a property that you promised us, we need some money. Let's go. So, guys, be reminded, at this particular stage, Jannard already owes Miguel money. And he's pressed on all sides because he's losing money. And now the Serbs are hitting him up for cash, or else they're coming after him personally. So, man, he's under all sorts of pressure. If you can't get your soldiers in line and you can't demonstrate that, listen, we gonna answer fire with fire, an eye for an eye, that's the rule of the streets. If you can't show that, bruh, you ain't gonna be a leader long. It takes Shanti having to let Jannard know that, bro, you guys ain't loyal. They talking stuff over here. They coming over here and talking to me and telling me. So you got to check your corner quick, bro. So she fronts in some cash so that he can handle what he's got to handle after the Serbs freed him up. And so she's a real one. I can see she's in his corner. She's got his back. And, you know, I like seeing them together and whatnot. But we'll see how this goes because, you know, at the end of the day, I think Jannard is going to mess this one up. So Tommy meets up with Vic Flynn in the cemetery who was visiting Gloria's tombstone. And Vic is just, man, bro's under pressure. You know, he is going through grief. He is all over the place drinking and he's just not himself. And we see this more darker, more just reckless, carefree version of Vic right now who is on the cutting edge of becoming a true leader in his father's organization that can be respected. But Tommy's trying to find out from him who was the one that shot Liliana that night in the shootout. In the last exchange between Tommy and Vic, Tommy tells him that when I find out the person that killed Liliana, I'm going to bury them so deep under the lake that you guys got in your backyard. So Vic is just like, because Tommy then says, I'm going to do it as well. So if you hear something, let me know, right? So Vic says, yeah, I'll let you know. Oh, by the way, do you know who was one that leaked the recipe for Dahlia on the internet? So Tommy turns around and tells him, if I find out, I'm going to let you know. So at this two stage, none of these guys trust each other. Both of them know that they're lying. And I think, man, that is going to make an interesting rapport and dynamic between them going forward, because Vic and Tommy were always pretty cool. But up until the situation that happened the last couple episodes of last season, yeah, man, I don't know how much longer they have the opportunity to keep a cool rapport before they become flat out enemies in the way that Tommy and Jannard are. Now, all throughout this episode, we got Walter making the rounds again. Just like the last episode, he's making the rounds between Vic and Claudia, trying to get them to come together so that they can run the organization. He reminds them of a plot point from season 1 that honestly they haven't brought up in a couple of episodes, is that Walter's actually sick. And so by him running around and reminding them that, listen, I need somebody to take the organization over. You guys know I'm not going to be here much longer. So we got to work this family stuff out. Yeah, so Walter then goes ahead and decides to give Claudia the reins and says, listen, you come run it, right? Because at this stage now, we got Dublin. They are basically saying, Walter, if you don't pay up by X date, you're in trouble. And the thing is now, Claudia also finds this out. So she knows that her dad's in trouble. And by extension, she may also be in trouble as well, as Brendan goes ahead and lets her know. So now we have the situation with her deciding to, negotiate with her dad and take it on. Now, here's the thing. Her dad goes ahead and makes a very, very interesting move. He decides to willingly go ahead and push some opioids in the South Side that is a bad batch because he's desperate for the money. And so because he wants to do that but has no experience in doing it, he has to now bring in one of the kids. And that is Claudia. Claudia becomes the one that he reaches out to, who can be able to push the pills so that they can be able to get out of the situation with Dublin and keep their heads on top of their bodies. This episode was very interesting for a lot of different reasons because we didn't actually see Tommy's family, but I think it helped to keep us balanced by transitioning from different environments of the key players in the drug organizations. Because now what they're trying to do for the show is, I believe they're trying to set a tone so that you can know this is where everyone's weaknesses are right now in their organizations. It's Tommy's recklessness, right? And his need to be able to keep himself under control and also keep a low profile. On the other side with the Flynns, it's the fact that they don't have a clear leader that's strong enough right now to keep things going forward. And then with Jannard's side, it's more of, I'm pressed for money. My soldiers don't think I'm strong enough to keep running things. And then also, we got the Serbs coming after me personally. So this episode was all about establishing the weak points in every organization so we can see where everyone now is kind of at the same place in terms of power. So even now when Vic gets arrested for failing to comply with police officers and saying, oh, I'm a Flynn, man, you guys are probably on my father's payroll, so you guys better let me go. And then he gets taken in and Walter has to come and bail him out. Ultimately, he negotiates and said, listen, I'm going to come back and run stuff, but Claudia's out. We can't be anywhere near Claudia. She can't be a part of it. And because he knows that deep down within himself, Claudia's got the cutthroatness that I need to run things, but I believe that Dublin is only going to respect an heir, more than likely that's probably a male, that's going to come up and replace me one day. And that is something that Claudia she doesn't take it too well later on in the episode, because here's Dad giving me the keys again, and here's Dad taking it back away. So I think Claudia is going to be one of those that is to watch in this season. One of the fan favorite parts of this episode was when Tommy was pulling up to Miguel's spot and he was trying to bring his money to him. And so one of the soldiers rolls up on him and lets him know that, hey, I know you. You're Tommy, right? It's like, yeah, how do you know me? It's like, well, from Chico, Julio's boy, from Queens. And so it's a little nod to the past and, how Julio was, he was pretty much a big character on the original Power. And he was a member of the Toros Locos gang before he actually joined Ghost and Tommy's organization. He spent a lot of time trying to bridge and keep that relationship between that gang and Ghost and Tommy's organization going, but ultimately he got betrayed by Dre, as many of you guys know, and he was killed by one of the gang members. So it was good for them to make this nod to Julio. I don't think anything's going to come out of it, guys. I think it was just kind of a wink to that. It's also here where the Serbs pull up on Miguel's crew in a street shootout. And Tommy just happens to be there, and he assists and comes in the clutch. And Miguel respects him even more and thanks him for it. And this is where Tommy gets shot. And here's the important part of this. We got to see our hero or protagonist of the show be vulnerable. We got to see them as weak and know that, listen, at any point in time, something could happen. Right? Now, it's Tommy's show. We know he's not going to die. Well, now, I should say. But it's good to see that, they know we can't be having plot armor even on our main character. Like, they got to be weak and they got to be able to get theirs at some point as well. And they're vulnerable. So, yeah. Tommy comes in. He saves the crew with, as much backup as he can give. And, of course, because he gets wounded, who has to now come in and help clean his wounds? It's Maeda. And you know that Maeda, she's attracted to him and he's attracted to her, but they know that they should not be messing with each other. Diamond's already warned him, stay away from her. She's already said, you don't want none of this, right? Anyone who ever falls, for me, my brother will bury you. So, Tommy, he ain't listening to nobody, man. He gonna do what he gonna do. And so they end up having a little connection and a little moment there. But one of the soldiers, Miguel, has, the bald head guy with a little look, comes up and he's just like, what's going on here? You need to get out of here. And so I think he's probably going to keep a closer eye on Tommy. And so we'll see how this is going to play out. Now, remember in my last breakdown, I mentioned how I believe Miguel is really kind of a softy family guy at heart. And what kind of affirms a little bit more is now we get to see some more of his family come into the picture. So his abuelita, or his grandmother, comes and is visiting him because she hears about the trouble that he's having here in Chicago. So she comes with some of her crew, and you can see that Miguel and his family are a generational crime family. And this is something that, probably one of the reasons why Maeda doesn't want to have anything to do with it, because she just wants to get out of life. She wants to just be a nurse. She wants to help people. And she probably, I believe we're going to see she has a not too good relationship with her grandmother in episodes to come, just because she has a different perspective on things. Now, Miguel's thankful that Tommy came in, but he's like, you got to get out of here. And Grammy is not feeling Tommy. She looks at him as like, who's this white boy? She ain't feeling him. She don't trust new people. I don't need no new friends. You could be trouble. I've heard about you. So, she just offset him and moves on. He's like, okay, whatever. But, Tommy, he's a G man. He keeps it moving. And now we get a better look at the food chain above Miguel. So everyone else below Miguel right now is Tommy, Jannard, Diamond, and then now we have Miguel, who is the connect to the cartel, the Mexican cartel. But Che here is actually the representative who is in Chicago for the Mexican cartel, who Miguel has to report to. So Miguel's letting him know that, listen, Mirkovic and the Serbs made a move on us today with that shootout, and we got to respond. Now think about this same dynamic with Jannard and his crew. They got to respond with what? Power and force, or else they won't be respected. And Miguel's trying to let Shay know that if I don't respond, this is going to be a problem with my crew. I can't let that slide. You know how that is. But Miguel is being threatened by Shay, and Shay says, listen, we can't have any issues with the Serbs because they are a major pipeline for us. So you fall in line. Shay does the one thing that probably will clear the whole board, and that is threaten Miguel's family. He says, if you make a move, even after I told you not to, on the Serbs, I'm going to kill your family. Well, after doing some other things to them first. I'm going to kill your family after we did. And so, that's a big no-no for him because he is big on family. That's one thing that we can see from Miguel's relationship so far with his grandmother and his sister that we've seen. Everyone seems to be very close, tight-knit, and they don't trust a lot of people, but they just trust their people. So all throughout this episode, Tommy and Diamond have been making this move right behind the scenes. And the move was to basically get the shipment that they overheard that Miguel's crew was making later on the next day. So Tommy and Diamond set this whole thing up to make it look like the Serbs were going to be the one that stole this shipment. And I mean, they took out a couple of Miguel's guys in the process, switched out, put some of the Serbs' bodies there so that Miguel and his crew would find it and actually start a war. Because remember, Tommy now wants to be at the top. But in order to do that, he has to kind of take out all the other competition. So he knows that he, like Diamond says, we just lit a stick of diamondite, bro. Like, this ain't going to end well. But Tommy's like, listen, I'm going for the top. I want the top spot, and I know that the only way to do this is that we got to clear the board of everybody else right now. So that includes Miguel, that includes the Flynns, that includes probably Jannard down the road as well. And I think that is also where Diamond and Tommy are gonna come to a head. Yo, I know we beef with my brother, but you can't kill my brother. That's my brother. So that's also something to look out for in the future, because Tommy's making an enemy of everybody at this stage, just so that he can get to the top spot with the Mexican cartel. And so at the end of it, Miguel decides that, okay, this was the Serbs. So now we're going to make a move on them. And that causes him to directly go against what Shay said not to do. So now he's out of line with Shay, the Mexican cartel rep. He's out of line with them. So what's that going to cause? Utter chaos. So like I say, they are totally giving those vibes from OG Power. This just feels like a natural continuation of the original series. The pacing, right? The tone, the stylization, and the way how they allow us to see into the worlds of every different part of everyone's organizations, their strengths, their weaknesses. And so it's such a good episode that gives us a very, very summary version of where everyone is at the beginning of the season, at their weak points, and now let's now amp it up. On the law enforcement side of things, I was wondering how they were going to loop in Lieutenant Bobby with the rest of the task force that they're trying to put together. But I wasn't sure how it was all going to cross over. So now we get to see that Stacy Marks and Lieutenant Bobby are actually in a relationship, or they're dating, or whatever it is, like that. So convenient. But basically, while they're actually on a ride home, what appears to be from a date, he gets a call about a shooting. So basically, one of Jannard's soldiers made a move on Tommy, but failed. And as a result, he actually shot a kid on the side of the road next to her mother and brother. And this just goes to show a little bit of the realism of a lot of the violence that happens in Chicago. Here's the important part of this, right? And I'm glad they kind of took this approach with it. We needed to see the impact of what happens on the other side of the game, which is people become collateral damage. People get caught between wars, and it's not good. And when you have something like a kid, being the casualty of that, I mean, that was just such a sad thing to see. And that just made me really think about, we really glorify this show a lot, and the action and all that kind of stuff. But looking and seeing, what happened here with this and the mom crying and all that stuff, it was really, really sobering. And it made me as the viewer do this. I had to now say, who am I rooting for? Am I rooting for Tommy to get power? Or am I rooting for law enforcement to get the task force and get justice? Because now I think what the writers want to do is ask us that question. Okay, you guys see how this episode ends. Kid lost their life. Is that something that is a good thing? No, it isn't. So how do we now balance our morality in watching the show and asking us these questions? So now we have to now look at every character in every situation and choose, whose side are we on? Really and truly. I know we're just watching a show, but they want us to think about it a little bit more deeper. So that was very, very impactful at the end of it. That's my breakdown of the episode, guys. What do you guys think about the episode? And maybe there's something that I missed that you guys felt I should have mentioned and is pretty important. So go ahead and let me know inside the comments, guys. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, peace.